Guys, what's going on? This is your show host, Matt, with Patriots Corner Podcast. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, but I am honored to have Mr. Jason Delgado, Marine Scout Sniper, tattoo artist, and show host of Soft Rep Podcast on the show today. Jason, what's going on, sir?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by and listening to us run our mouths.
Always. Jason, I'm so pumped up to have you on the show today, man.
Cool, man. I'm pretty pumped up too.
Sweet. Well, hey, I gotta ask before we get into the technicals. Where did you learn to become a tattoo artist? That is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I kind of growing up, I've always had that artistic attribute to me. I remember as way back as in like second grade, I'm actually making full length comic strips, so. I've always had that ability to me. And when I got out of the military, I kind of wanted to disappear and lay low. I didn't want to deal with a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with. So I became a barber. And then naturally within the area that I work at, it's a natural progression. If you're an artist, I transitioned into being a tattoo artist. And that industry and that life has been extremely great to me, So it held me down and, one of the craziest parts of my life. So. I just naturally went into it, and it was like love at first sight,
That's incredible. And I wanted to ask, too, going off of that, tattoos seem to be a big thing within the military.
Oh, yeah. Since day one. Since way back as early as, even within other militaries, like Roman militaries and stuff like that, but even way back as, Sailor Jerry Flash, sailors have been big with their tattoos and their depictions or representations of the things they underwent within the military. Like perfect example, the swallows, they would tattoo swallows for every deployment. And the reason being a swallow is because that's the first land-based animal they see when they're getting close to land. So that's how they know that their term out at sea or their voyage out at sea is coming to an end as soon as they start seeing swallows. So it's pretty cool, stuff like that, you got lineage like that. You know how Marines, we're all about that, our legacy and lineage and stuff. So, the tattooing culture has just as much of it as well. It's pretty awesome, pretty interesting to be a part of it.
That is very cool. And yeah, I do pick up on that a lot. And I think that that's just totally badass too. You guys always rock the coolest tattoos also, which is sweet. But I got to ask, so you were a Marine Scout Sniper and, where did that all start? Because that's incredible.
It's so I kind of was always on a little patriotic, even as a youngin. When I'm talking about like 13, 14 years old, I don't know. To me, it's a natural calling. It's either you are or you aren't. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. I think it's that personality that the individual has that. Will say whether he's going to feel certain things are right and others are wrong, and kind of leans you more towards being that patriot to your country. I think, like I said, you're born with it. But so I joined this little cadet corps. It was just pretty fun. You know what I mean? Like we were young kids, and a couple of facilitators for the cadet corps were like old Vietnam vets and stuff, and these guys were pretty fucking cool. Like,
I was gonna say that had to be badass.
Yeah, so we're like fucking 14, 15, and these guys are teaching us like Met TSL and salutes reports, and we're learning all this cool badass stuff. But as we start getting older, you gotta understand we're straight out of the ghetto. We're in the hood, and the older you get, the more the higher the chances that you'll get entrapped in that lifestyle. With being a lookout for drug dealers on the corner and then eventually moving up to that yourself, stuff like that. So they had to compete with that. So it was genius to me because look how big and look how major airsoft is and paintballing is now. We started that shit like back in the 90s, kids in Van Cortlandt where the technology just started coming out, and we would like legit run like reconnaissance within high schools and stuff like that, and there'll be a couple of groups out there that were like similar to us, and we would just link up in like this big park that we have in New York called Van Cortlandt Park. It's huge, and you can get lost. It gets real dark to the point where you can't see past your hand and stuff. And we would do no joke reconnaissance to see what units are going out there and stuff, and we would ambush them. We'll raid their campsites. We'll set up early warning device. It was so cool, and the adrenaline was a constant flow. And when we cornered some guys, the only way you could get out is by throwing down. And we had a little game called waffling where we'll take like a blackjack or a brake pad wrapped up in some duct tape and stuff, and we wouldn't whop each other with it. It's just like almost something to clench in your fist as you strike. And we had certain areas where you could strike and stuff. It was cool. Like, we got together every now and then and make sure everyone was adhering to the rules. But it was awesome. Like, it was just a nonstop fight. So
wow.
So going back, I'm off on a tangent, but going into the military, it's because of that organization. Because of those things, is that I started looking at military books. And then I picked up, Carlos Hathcock's book. And, I was in love from that moment on. I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to be a scout sniper. Because, the stories were just grandiose. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about putting a bullet through someone's scope and dropping it in his eye. That's crazy. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
to me, that was like, what? This is a job, and so I always kind of fell in love with it. Before I even knew, it was like I was in love with the idea of being a sniper more than a Marine. But, to me, anything was an option because I realized at that point, too, a lot of different DODs have snipers and stuff. So I just wanted to be a sniper. Then when I went into the recruiting, office, I also noticed that, a lot of the fucking veterans that would come help us out in the organization, so the ones that were Marines were the ones that were the least fucked with. Like, they were the ones that had that they carried themselves with that, that stoic demeanor that, they would come in and just be ice cold, and, the other guys wouldn't really crack at them and stuff. And if they did, it would be like, really, really raunchy, almost to the point where we're like, oh my gosh, should I be hearing this? But, they were always cool to me in my eyes. And I said, yeah, I'm doing this. And then ever since then, it's just been like knocking down goal after goal once you get in. With, of course, a couple of tumbles on the way. You know what I mean? That's natural in life. But eventually became a scout sniper. And to me, that was like, wow, I achieved like my ultimate goal in life at that point. I was young and ignorant. You got to understand. So to me, to become a scout sniper that's it. I can't see past that. And once I attained it, it was just like, what now? You know what I mean?
I hear you. That's incredible, too. And, you're saying about with the Marines, the hard asses, totally, 110%. I remember when I was on Interstate 80 and driving out to college, and we just saw a ton of Leathernecks go by on their bikes. And these guys were oh, my God, it was the coolest thing in the world. It was the
Leathernecks are pretty cool, man.
It was sweet. And, hey, I got to ask you, you said the 90s. Did it pump you up even more? What was it, 1993, that movie Sniper came out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was really like, I would watch the sniper movies, but to me, I don't know. It just wasn't what made me fall in love. I was always a reader, because when I read, I have, being an artist, I have an overreactive imagination. It's crazy. I prefer to read because my brain would start to paint more vivid pictures than if someone gave them to me, on the screen. So that's why, by default, I fell in love with the stories and the autobiographies more than I did the movies. The movies really didn't do much for me. They still don't to this day. That's the crazy part. I haven't seen a sniper movie that I'd say, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Wow. So.
Oh, you know what? There was one that I did see. I'm starting to cut you off. It was, I think it was Hyena Road, about the Canadian snipers.
I never seen that one. That's going to go on my list now.
Wow, man. Let me tell you, that probably one of the only sniper movies that kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand, with the lingo, and then just being out there in the mountains of Afghanistan and stuff, and it was just freaky. It was cool, man. That's a good one. You guys might want to check that out. But that was probably the closest they nailed it type point to a sniper movie. If you guys wanted to take a look at that.
That's incredible. I know I'm going to take a look at that for sure. What was that called? Hyena Road?
Yeah, I think it's Hyena Road.
Very cool.
I'm sure you could see it on Netflix or something.
Sweet. Yeah, sweet. So you went into the recruiting station and you wanted to be a scout sniper. What was next? Where you then what? Joined the Marine Corps or?
So, I actually went to college like in '98 or something like that for like a semester. And I was so young and, ignorant. Like I said, it was just crazy that I didn't really care about college. I kind of knew what I wanted to do was join the military. I was just procrastinating. I didn't know when I was going to go. I was waiting for this like metaphorical, pistol shot, go, you know what I mean? So, but it never came. It's one of those things where I realized that, holy crap, I literally have to do this on my own. I got to walk in and make it happen. So, I stopped after my first semester of college and I said, fuck this, man, I'm out. And I walked into a recruiting station, went straight to the Marine Corps. And the crazy part is I wasn't like by today's standards. That's the crazy part. I wouldn't have made it in the military because I had a previous surgery, spinal surgery, right? Then what else? Oh yeah, I got my GED and I didn't have, that much college credits because, less than a semester. And I'm pretty sure I withdrew from a lot of my classes. So, but at that time, the recruiters had a lot more leeway, a lot more flexibility, and they had a lot of hookups. Like they would make you look like a fucking rock star, even if you were just a rock. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And yeah, so they got me in, and that was even, not a sure thing. It was a lot of headaches, a lot of acquiring waivers, a lot of going to match to a point where I thought it wasn't going to happen. But then eventually it happened, and ever since then, it's been like destiny, man, almost. You know what I mean? Because I find my path in the military, my career in the Marine Corps, a fortunate one. Not a lot of people got to do the stuff I got to do. It's just one of those things where you're in the right place at the right time. And, that's like nothing special on my behalf. I didn't do anything different than anybody else done. But, I just, like I said, I was fortunate. Timing was everything. You're talking about the Twin Towers. You're talking about my upbringing. You're talking about the beginning of new programs. And, I was just around and fortunate enough to still be active at that point. You know what I mean? In the business.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you a Marine before the Twin Towers were attacked?
Yes, I was in Japan, Okinawa, Japan, I remember. And it was crazy because prior to that, the Marine Corps was a lot like college. It was like, dude, you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 or whatever. Sometimes it wasn't that bad, not that serious. You're young anyway, you run, you have fucking breakfast, you come back, you do a couple of things for the company, stay in your room a majority of the day, just like in your dorm, and fucking pop smoke at like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And now you're in the clubs, you're in the bars, you're in the dealerships, you're just living off the community, off the economy. So it's not like people think that you go into the military and it's like they own you from, sun up to sundown. I mean, yeah, if they needed you, yeah, they literally do own you, but it's damn near having a 9 to 5. So prior to Iraq, it was cool, it was like, wake up, do some physical shit, eat, sleep, shit, whatever, get off of work. And then, get off of work, meet chicks, ride your motorcycle, go out clubbing, go to LA, go to Las Vegas, it was so crazy, man. And then our deployments were like, Okinawa, Korea, South Korea, Guam, Philippines, and guys, on Muse would go to like, Thailand on their Westpacks and stuff or whatever, Australia, if they're on the East Coast type stuff. And it was so crazy because once they docked, it was no shit, just party, drinking, women. It was an amazing time to be in the military. And then Iraq hit, and that was like the rude awakening, man. That was like no one had time for any more BS. It was, hike up your boots and put your head down and let's go. For years, it got to a point where think about it. I was so fortunate because I got to experience the Marine Corps prior to combat disposition, combat situation. So I got to enjoy that, I got to be a slacker. I got to be a goofball. I got to do all those awesome things, man. And then the fucking war hit. So imagine someone that came in after 9/11. They didn't experience that. They never got to see the awesome side of the military. It was just hell for them since the day they walked into the day they walked out. So I got to give like credit to anyone that came in to answer that call after 9/11. That was crazy because their careers have been forged in fire since day one. You know what I mean? You kind of get it?
Oh, God, yeah. And that's something that, I as a civilian look at and just say, yeah, absolutely, God bless, because that's true patriotism. And I think a lot of people tend to not understand that, I just, not even to put it on a negative, but how you even said how a lot of people will think that the military owns you. And really, it's a job which you are doing for your country, and people don't get that. There's constantly a fucking negative all the time, which is just total bullshit in my opinion.
And it feels like it's a constant thing, and it's oversaturated now. I do believe with social media and all the BS media and all that stuff out there, that you starting to see it, and it feels like it's oversaturated, but it's always been like that, man. Don't sweat that shit, bro, because for every fucking slacker loser out there, there's fucking 10 more fucking patriots that will fucking stand up and answer the call. And I'm not saying there's anything against that, because we need them too. We need the guys that want to stay here, that don't want to go to war. We need the guys that are going to, be the entertainment, be the artists. We need the guys that are going to be the cultural pioneers, And, you probably, some of your listeners are probably going to kill me for this, but we need the gays. We need the transgender. We need that because that's what keeps us diverse. And that's what keeps us open-minded, and not closed-minded. The fact is, as long as the front line, the military, is not fucked with, like, don't experiment with the fucking military. Whatever's behind the military, you fuckers could do whatever the hell you want, because we gave you that right. But don't experiment with the military. You know what I mean? That's my point. So there's a few types of people in this world. There's 3 types of people. There's wolves. Those guys are assholes, but they're willing to do anything to get by, right? And then there's sheepdogs. Those are the guys that enlist. Those are the guys that, if they see a woman being harassed on the street, you don't have to be in the military. See a woman harassed on the street, they're going to get in the way because they're chivalrous. They have that instinct in them. They were born with that. Not everybody's born with that shit, man. And then there's the sheep. Those are the ones that don't want to open their eyes. They walk around like, the 3 chimps, deaf, dumb, and blind. And, they don't want to see the reality of what human beings are capable of. So they chastise everyone else because they don't want to face the reality of the world and humanity as a whole. You know what I mean? So in other words, they're blind. Their head is down and they're fucking grazing on grass. That's why I call them sheep. And they're just told where to go and where to move. Those are the 3 types of people in this world. And it just so happens the sheepdogs are the law enforcement, the guys that fucking, shit, you can even say vigilantes. Anybody that will step up for a right cause, that's the sheepdog. And you've seen them out there. You've seen countless examples of that out there. So, this analogy works perfect for the world. But the problem is you can't have the sheep, trying to demonize the sheepdog. Because if it wasn't for us in the first place, how the hell are you going to be able to eat grass with nothing to worry about? You know what I mean? You'll get gobbled up in a heartbeat. So it's crazy. It's a really long analogy, but I truly feel that way about this world. And I just think each one should just let each one be. If that's what you want to do and that's your path in life, so be it. That's what your destiny is. That's what your calling is. That's fine. Rock that. We need that. There's people that need that. There's people that are going to get inspired from whatever it is you do and own up to,
Yeah.
But if you don't fucking shit on me for joining the military, or, don't shit on Matt over here for being a patriot and wanting to interview guys like me and wanting to send the message across and combat what he sees is an oversaturation of, a crazy agenda, So I feel you, you know what I mean? I totally feel you. And that's what you're doing your part, and making sure, guys like us get a platform, which is so cool, man. I totally give you credit for that. Same thing we're doing over at Software Prep, which is crazy to me because I interview some guys that I just feel are like, God. So it's like, I know how you feel sometimes and you get intimidated. You shouldn't be, though. Just be cool, be natural, and just keep giving us this platform, man. You know what I mean?
Right on, brother. Right on. And I got to ask you now, when that happened, though, what was going through your head? Because, from after speaking to you now, 20 minutes, you seem you're always adrenaline rush type of dude. And what was going through your head? Which is awesome, though. That's, that's all even goes back to what you were saying. Thank God we have guys like you who are willing to just, okay, we're going to go. We're going to get the job done. We're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't care. Just get it done. Get it over with. Yeah,
I'm not big on, I'm telling you what, Jason, I'm not big on the saying in certain regards, but I'm usually not big on the saying, work smarter, not harder. I just want to get the shit done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
and we're big on that too. Just because exactly. Just because I say go into shit head first, what I mean is we're going to do it smart, in a smart manner, because we need, got to understand. And what we do, people die for our mistakes, and no one wants that weight on their shoulders for the rest of their fucking life. Trust me, no one wants that.
Sure.
So, we're going to do the best thing we're going to do, but we're still super hyper aggressive boys, young men. Like, we're the peak of freaking adrenaline and just testosterone. You know what I mean? Like, we're 21, 19, 23. I mean, shit, we can chew through iron doors. Man. That's what we feel. So when that happened, when we witnessed and we were locked down in Typhoon Condition 3, which is like you can't leave the building because the wind will literally blow you to hell. You will fly a few hundred yards.
This is in Japan?
This is in Japan, so it's crazy. So everyone was restricted to the barracks. And you know what we do when we hear there's a typhoon coming, right? We go to the PX and we clean that motherfucker out. And I'm talking about liquor. We clean that liquor store out. Woo, it's crazy. So mind you, we were all already tore up. We were drunk. We were freaking just lit.
I thought you were going to say, we usually say, fuck the typhoon, we're going to take it on. We're going to go out there and see if we could stand this wind.
Yeah, that happened every time. With poncho liners. Dudes would try to jump out the window to see if they could parachute down 2 stories.
That's fucking sweet.
Dude, if you know Marines, I have a feeling you do by even mentioning that. Marines are crazy.
Yeah.
You know what they'll say? You put a Marine in a padded room with 2 ball bearings, one will be missing and the other one will be cut in half.
That's funny as hell. Oh, man.
Like John.
So, when we saw that, we were already in a drunken stupor. And then we're witnessing this, and I think it just dawned on us all at that moment, like, oh, shit, we're going to war. And, like, the entire barracks just, like, erupted, and there's dudes running around in underwear, drunk as hell. And we wanted it. What I'm trying to say is we wanted it so bad. That's like the basketball team or the football team that's played for the coach for years and never had an opportunity to actually play the big game. That's the equivalent of it. To find out that you're finally getting a shot to prove yourself, to prove, that you guys and what you trained in is, 100%.
Wow. So. And now what was next, though, after that? Were you a sniper at this point?
No, at this point I was a pig, and I was like going through my 3rd indoc in Okinawa, which was awesome. And so when we got back, we did a few competitions within, you're always in a sniper platoon, you're always in competition with each other. Because you have to compete for a quota to get to sniper school. Quota is like a school seat. So, and they're not going to send who their shining stars. They're not going to send their guys that aren't shining stars. So whoever could, constantly come in first or whatever they call it, pays to be a winner. They'll, eventually start getting perks and stuff like that. So one day we ran one of those challenges on the range, and I just so happened to be in the zone, and when you're a shooter, when you're a sniper and you're going through these courses, like every once in a blue you'll get in the zone where all your dope, all your data is just fucking on point, man, and you can feel it. You just like, it's like Zen. You become one with the range, man, and just like bling bling bling, knocking them down one after the other, dude. So I was in the zone, and I cleaned it up, and they announced pays to be a winner after the fact, and I wound up getting a quota to sniper school, which was so awesome. But like I said, man, we were just so aggressive and so competitive with each other that, that was the driving force. You know what I mean? That was great.
That's wild. Wow. And after graduating sniper school, were you getting shipped overseas immediately?
Yes,
or?
Immediately. So we knew, like, we had a little time from when the towers got knocked down to when we returned back from Japan. And we had very little time to prepare. So all I had time for was to go to sniper school. Then I went to sniper school, and when we came back, we had restructured the platoon because we had a few new snipers or qualified school-trained snipers that came back, and now we had to give them teams or us teams, you know what I mean? And, the older guys were leaving, some of them were getting out of the military, some decided to stay with us. So we restructured the platoon and, headed overseas, and we did the OIF-1 thing. We did sat in Kuwait for a while, practiced, trained our butts off. And then, we crossed the line of departure and made our way to Baghdad. Our unit was the one who tore down the statue of Saddam. And,
wow,
we took Baghdad. Yeah, it was great. Along with the army on one side and, we were on the other. We took Baghdad, less than a day, man. It was crazy.
Now, what's it like knowing that you were a part of that? Because, I mean, I know you had said you're not big on when it comes to, like, the fame, but, I mean, what was your feeling when ripping down that statue? I mean, you're a part of history.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the square just providing security while, the BC called up the tank to, put the chain link over it or the chain, whatever he had, hoisted onto the statue and knock it down. And, I was trying to, provide security. But after the fact, like, where I'm at today, sitting on the couch, pondering everything, all the shit that I've been through, it's crazy because, like I said, I just had a fortunate career where I can say I was at the right place at the right time. Who knew I was going to make it to that unit? I joined the Marine Corps on the East Coast. And usually, if you join on the East Coast, you go to Paris Island and then you get sent to an East Coast unit in Lejeune or something. You know what I mean? But when I graduated boot camp, they send us to a unit that was standing up all over again because 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines have been like deactivated and activated so many times. They only activate 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines when, there's a potential for war. So they just reactivated literally. So a side note here, it was deactivated probably about last year. And they just reactivated it again. So that's funny. Anyway, so they reactivated that unit and they needed to fill in the billets in that unit. And me, along with a bunch of other guys, got sent out to California. And that's what I'm saying. So that to me is like, that's like crazy. That I wasn't even intended to be a West Coast Marine, because I was, recruited on the East Coast. And I just so happened to get into this unit. I just so happened to come across Coughlin, who wrote, a few books before me, and, also Colonel McCoy, who wrote his memoirs as well, and, all these people got to make some sort of history with that first push. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, wow, I was a part of that. That's crazy because what are the chances of me getting into that one narrow spot in that point in time? It's just so crazy when I look at things like that. Same was going back to the East Coast when I became the lead sniper instructor for urban sniper out on the East Coast. And that was also a fluke because I was just a sniper. I wasn't a reconnaissance Marine. And usually the guys that run the courses in that specific branch, they were reconnaissance Marines. So, I was fortunate enough to get the top seat there. And, like I said, it was just, I had to be humble. I had to humble myself because, man, to be in those situations where, you can be an innovator or you can witness things for the very first time and then teach after the fact, your lessons learned. So beautiful, man. It was crazy. I loved it. I loved my career in the military.
Now, did you guys were you on alert during the teardown of the Saddam Hussein statue? Were you on alert that there was possibly, terrorists or any type of radicals within the area?
No, that was before that existed. I mean, all we had was the Fedayeen and the Mujahideen. And, we labeled these as political loyalists, So, because Saddam did favors for them and, they swore allegiance to him or swore their lives to him and stuff. So we didn't think of them in the term of terrorists like we think about it now. We just saw them as combatants, insurgents. That's what we called them. So, I mean, it was by this point we had a few firefights. We lost a few guys already. When we went into Baghdad, it was a trip because Baghdad gave us the least amount of resistance than all the other smaller towns that we came up on the way north, which is crazy because, we got it. We ran into the Mujahideen. We ran into the Fedayeen. We ran into those loyalists that want us to stick it out and gun with us. And then when we get into Baghdad, we're thinking, this is going to be magnified, because it's a large city. And city's an understatement, man. This shit is buildings and houses as far as the eye can see. Is so overwhelming. Like, I went to Colombia a couple months ago, and I went to Bogota, and I'm sitting. Was it Bogota? Yeah, and I'm on the mountain, and Monserrate, and I'm looking down, and that's a city of 8 million people. And I can see the end and the edge of it. But when I was on the buildings in Baghdad, obviously I'm on a mountain, but when I was in the buildings in Baghdad at the high points, dude, it was like endless. It was huge. So naturally, we thought, this was going to be a bigger problem for us than we received coming up to this point, which was crazy because, we got into some serious firefights. When we rolled in, it was something like the liberation of France. It was a full-on parade, man. They were bringing out roses and throwing them at us, big, huge plates of rice and candy, and coming up to the tracks. And just, we went through like this one Catholic district in Baghdad where we didn't even know existed. And, we seen women hanging out the window and makeup on their face and, attractive without the hijabs. And so, it was a huge culture shock for us. And to think that, wow, these people actually like us and they want us here, that's so crazy. And then after the occupying is when shit started going south. But in a nutshell, when we got up to there, we didn't get anything unusual as far as, reports of terrorist activities. It was just the norm, hey, watch out, you might have a VBIED, posing as an ambulance or something like that. That to us was usual at that point already. And what was unusual was the parade, though.
And that was just everybody who was just happy as shit that you guys were there. You guys were there doing your job.
Yeah, they were fucking hyped that we rolled up and liberated them. I mean, if you see Iraq the way it is now, as opposed to the temperament at that time or the lack thereof, it's like two different places night and day. Like, they actually legit believed like we were going to bring them, that happiness, but it's so complicated. It was so complicated. I think we thought we were going to bring them that happiness, to tell you the truth. And the fact of the matter is, it was damn near impossible,
Well, that's what I was about to ask. What do you believe happened afterwards? Everybody's happy as hell that this... Yeah.
People happen. Humans are shit, man. Humans are shit. There's people that are good and have good intentions, but you got to understand, there's the polar opposite of that. This world is fucking yin and yang, bro. For every good, there's an evil. And there's that one fucking asshole that just wants to dominate shit for the sake of dominating stuff. And then, there's these super charismatic people like, Jim Jones or, freaking Jeffrey Dahmer and shit that, they'll get this following and they'll preach to them and people will follow them and do shit, atrocious stuff, in their names, under their names. And as long as there are people like that in this world, dude, you can't leave anything unattended. Because that's what's going to happen, man. And when we pulled out, that gave rise to ISIS, man. I truly believe, like, our negligence in that area, that Al-Qaeda, that Assad area, or Hussein, or whatever, when we pulled out of there, when Obama popped smoke on that area, man, we left equipment, we left Humvees, we left guns, we left... On top of that, that was a huge, that area has, it's a huge border with, Syria. And, they're sympathetic to that whole fucking, Islamic extremist shit. So, they were sending them buttloads of cash and weapons and munitions. And, we were getting blown to high hell daily. It's impossible. It's impossible. As long as there's that one person that, even by means of working with our government, look at Osama bin Laden. I mean, he worked with us. He worked with Rumsfeld directly. We created that guy. And now he became one of the our biggest enemies, our biggest targets. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy. As long as there's humans doing human shit, there'll always be a need for those watchdogs. You know what I mean? It's just endless thing. It's an endless thing. And look what's going on with North Korea, for Christ's sakes. I mean, how long have we been ignoring that guy for? And now it's like one fucking guy, Trump, one watchdog, one non-politician wants to do something about it and fucking knuckle up. And treat him as aggressive as he deserves to be treated. Now it's like, oh, no, we can't do this. It's going to start a new war. We didn't start this shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that never ended.
It never ended. That's what I'm saying. We just had an armistice. That's all it is.
My grandfather served in the Korean War. Dude. Yeah, he's always saying that. I remember... I called him up and I told him, I said, a friend of mine was like, yeah, we're going to war with North Korea. And he's just, that shit never ended. Yeah.
It's so true. And that's another thing. Like, we just had an armistice with them, ceasefire or whatever. That's what we had with them. It wasn't an official, you guys won, you guys lost, So they harbor that animosity towards us because they weren't able to come out of that. And to tell you the truth, I mean, we were in it. It was fucking crazy. My grandfather was in Korea, drafted out of Puerto Rico. So, that's crazy. The fact that we were never, that war has never ended and people are just treating it as if it's something we could just ignore. No, these fucking guys want to kill those guys. And those guys are our friends, bro. And now they're threatening us. That's it. That's all it is. Plain and cut. We didn't start it, but we damn sure are going to end this motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got to ask this. What's your opinion on... I'll just ask this question. If you can't answer, it's not a big deal. What's your opinion on Dennis Rodman always going over there?
Fuck, I don't know.
That just makes me curious.
Someone once told me, man, fuck around, Dennis Rodman is really like a fucking CIA fucking agent.
That went through my head. Because I'm like, why the shit does this guy keep going over there? He's hanging out with Kim Jong. This is nuts. You see it on his fat face, his smile. Unofficial ambassador of North Korea and shit, and America to North Korea and shit. Fuck out of here. Hey, fuck around, man. Maybe he's working for the CIA. We'll see. I mean, even jumping into North Korea, what's your opinion on all that stuff that he has going on? Now I saw, 3 days ago, a ballistic missile landed in the Sea of Japan.
Oh no, I mean he's been running constant intercontinental missile ballistic tests and stuff, and I think the recent one went the farthest. I think they said it traveled something like 1,000 kilometers, and it had the potential to reach the shores of California. So, I mean, the truth is, like, a lot of guys, from what I understand, they say that North Korea is far from really being able to actually pull off a nuclear or armed rocket that would travel with precision to the U.S., So, and I got to take their word for it, but, they are getting help. You got to understand. Because if they can't do it themselves, they still have allies like China and Russia where they could, piggyback off their, satellites for, GPS guidance and all this stuff. And that's who we need to, like, whoever's bankrolling them, whoever's piggybacking them, those are the guys that really need to just get with it and realize that they're the ones who have the power to avoid anything, potentially crazy.
I think that's the biggest threat, too, because, I mean, President Trump could go over to China and they could be hospitable and show every ounce of respect, but I still think it's something where it's kind of like, this is not worthy of all just, okay, yeah, let's just throw all the trust in your lap.
Yeah, it's like, one hand you see the relationship that's depicted is like, oh, shit is going good over there in China. Cool, they respect Trump. And then on the other, it's like, well, what the fuck, China? You fucking pulled North Korea's head out their ass, I think they tried. I want to say last week they sent like an ambassador over there, and the ambassador came back, and I think one of his reports were that he didn't recognize anyone from the old cabinet.
Wow.
It's like he like completely reformed his entire cabinet. And I mean, in his defense, even though I don't give a fuck much about him, the Chinese ambassadors haven't been there in years. So, but still, like, how many guys get recycled from cabinet to cabinet? You'll at least have somebody there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a whole switch up. It's like a mindfuck type of deal. Somebody walks in there.
Don't get too comfortable, motherfucker.
And that's the craziest thing, everybody's screwing each other on this, and then it's like, where's the trust in anything, and it's just a weird thing.
Yeah, he runs with an iron fist, man. I think everyone's just scared. Look at that defector that just came across the border. Fucking kudos to him. That dude got shot 5 times, man, making the dash.
I did see that.
That's crazy. And what's cooler is you see the South Koreans fucking skull dragging, low crawling up to his position and just like snatching him away from that wall.
Yeah.
To bring him over to the South Korean side. Dude, that was cool.
That was cool.
I mean, the way they were snatching him back, at that prone position, that guy must have been like 80 pounds wet because they were moving him fast.
He was getting the hell out of there. They show the next scene, too. He's dashing through the city.
That was cool.
Yeah, it's like something out of Ace Ventura.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you see things like that in the movies, and then here it is happening in real life. And, from what I hear, that guy's recovering, too, in the South Korean hospital, which is awesome because, even if we don't get much on the wish list of the espionage side of the house, we'll still probably get something super valuable out of him, right? Tell us what the fucking conditions are. You know what I mean? Like, what made you run, bro? You know, obviously something you feared for your life enough to eat up 5 bullets for it, you know, in the hope of, you know, safety. So, you know, what's going on? We'll get something out of him once he can talk, I guess. Or he probably already did. Who knows?
It's almost too bad we couldn't make another Rocky IV. Only this time, America v North Korea. Send somebody over there, get the training montage going, and boom, there we go. And that'll just shut, because he's just the smallest, fattest little pain in the ass in the world. It's just absolutely.
Well, remember what Jocko said? Jocko Willink, he said, "All we gotta do is just like dump a shitload of iPhones over there." And
yeah, I do remember hearing that.
Let it do it. I mean, dude, that's genius. Just free them. Show them, you know, what they're missing. Show them what the rest of the world's capable of. Like, bro, your fucking leader's a psycho, bro.
It's just. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it. It's just maybe they'll, you know, through through oppression. Through oppression is born a fiery rebellion.
Right on, and that is that. I think there was another one too. There was a picture of a bunch of higher ups. They had all medals on, and there was something floating around about a big magnet or something like that. It was a meme.
To snatch them up.
Yeah, to snatch them up. Just all they need is a giant magnet, and then we are good to go. We're golden.
Yeah. Must be crazy to be a North Korean general. Can you imagine that? You're probably fucking king of the world. I know those dudes are like drinking and, you know, got sex slaves and stuff like that. It's gotta be as crazy as that place is.
Oh, that's the biggest thing too. It's like, you know, I mean, the type of crazy shit that they're doing over there. It's like, you know, what's going on, you know, and it's. I know they're big on torture too.
Yeah, there's reports of them like stealing Japanese citizens and like forcing them to train half Japanese and half Korean babies to speak, you know, fluent Japanese with their customs and mannerisms so they could circumvent the government of, you know, Japan. That's crazy, right?
That is crazy.
And that's like no shit. Like they're no shit doing that. They're like abducting people from like, you know, the small islands off the coast of North Korea or close to Japan and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, when I did my podcast with Rob O'Neill, who I saw was just on your guys' show recently.
Hell yeah.
He told me that I remember he had said that they took and got bin Laden had a shit ton of pornography on his computer.
Oh yeah, of course he did. Those guys, let me tell you, like I said, the problem with this world is humans. Humans are shit. And once you get someone to that point where they're that charismatic, where they're running a multi-billion or billion-dollar criminal organization, and they have people willing to kill babies for them, them motherfuckers aren't right in their head. They got some shit going. They got some skeletons in their closet. Even if their whole existence is one big skeleton, can you imagine the stuff that they don't want the people to know? They're crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy to the extent that they'll go, because he was even saying that they would hide messages inside the porn.
What?
That's crazy. It was like the extent that people would go to do this type of crazy shit is just absolutely insane. And that's like the biggest thing. I mean, with ISIS now, even how you were mentioning before about just the whole radicalization of, you know, people like the Jeffrey Dahmers of the world. They have like a whole freaking city now on their verge. So I mean, what's your opinion on all that shit going on? You know, I mean, taking them out.
Shit, man. Like I said, you take one out, so another one will blossom in its place, man. This is a crazy, crazy fight we're in for. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to say what can you do to fight a radical. A radical, by definition, I would say closely associates with irrational. You know, like if you think about it, because it gets to a point where whatever you believe is the truth, you're not leaving any room for doubt or consideration whatsoever. That's irrational. Like the point where you feel like what you believe in is 1,000% the way anything should be, and everything else needs to fall at the wayside. You're crazy, man. That's irrational. And you can't deal with irrational. You can't deal with crazy. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You can't rationalize with crazy. And we're fighting crazy, man. That's what we're doing. We're no shit fighting crazy. So it's a tough fight, and all we can do is just stay in and keep our chins up and try to be proactive about it. That's the only thing we can really do. Be proactive and stop with the PC culture shit, because by not labeling shit what it is we're desensitizing the damage these organizations, these groups can cause.
Yeah.
I'm for it, man. Let me tell you, I got fucking a ton of friends, a ton of Muslim friends, Arabic friends. Dude, like, they're awesome people, man. A lot of them, saved our asses over there, dude, driving us around, willing to fucking put their lives on the line for us. Like, these are cool dudes, man. Like, a lot of them we'll endorse for citizenship because, fuck, man, they're more American than they are that. You know what I mean? Because they just love us. There's people out there that love us. It's cool. I get it. But it's that one cycle that's going to kill an entire freaking, elementary school that I'm worried about. You know what I mean? Or, the guy that wants to rent the freaking truck from Home Depot and run it through a bike path. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be proactive about that. And we already have a profile that we can follow. Let's just follow that profile and see who we can fucking, dig up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something you say that too. John Doe, look at him. He was an unarmed U.S. citizen. Past X amount of weeks was fighting with ISIS. He was from America. So it's like, it's the craziest thing. And that even goes and ties into the shit where, that stuff is just mind-blowing to me. I mean, the whole how you said with the PC, just allowing people to just do as they please, and not saying that I would ever want something to be strict. You got to do what I say. You got to do this now. I mean, as far as within government, but that is just total bullshit. I mean, Americans going over, and people don't realize it.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the biggest thing as far as when it comes to that stuff. And the issue is the main issue, Jason, with ISIS, from your opinion, that they're just so spread out all over those mountains, it'd be hard to take them out altogether?
I'm sorry.
Nope,
Man,
you're
I lost
good.
you there.
You're good. No worries. No, you're good. You're still in.
All right. My bad. What was your question?
The fact that they're spread out all over the mountains, is that the most concern when it comes to taking out large groups of ISIS or terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, whatever it be?
No, I truly think it's collateral damage, just to a point where now we have to literally worry about women and children. Like, if there's no one 100% IDing the target or is able to give a battle damage assessment, a physical no shit visual battle damage assessment of an airstrike or something like that, we can't do it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's these rules that we have to abide by to kind of tie our hands behind our back, but they're there for a reason. You know what I mean? So I'm sure too many, not plenty, even if it's just one, is too many women and children have died already. So, I mean, it sounds crazy and it's a factor of war, but I'm just saying, if you're asking why we don't just fucking drop bunker busters wherever we think there's a hot spot of them, it's because of that. We're legit no shit worrying about the women and children.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's often forgotten too. Is just the type of horrible shit that they're doing to women over there is just awful.
Like, although American history has not been the prettiest fucking history on earth, we have come a long way, for the sake of humanity. So, although every day is a new lesson learned, we're not as evil as people want to portray us to be,
I agree. Well, Jason, I got to ask you. So, what's before we close out? What's going on at Soft Rep? Any new big? I'm a fan.
No, none crazy. I guess. I mean, they're just trying to grow, trying to expand. I mean, like any other business. I mean, they're doing big things, man. They're now doing the Soft Rep TV, which is pretty fucking cool. I get jealous sometimes. These that guys, cool. They do some cool stuff like knocking down doors and stuff. So they get to still basically play after they're done with their career, so that's cool. Then you got the Crate Club, which is awesome, man. Some of the stuff in the Crate Club is super sick, man. And you get it like monthly. Yeah, dude, it blows my mind. Like, it's like Christmas every month. So they got that going on, and whatever, just little stuff here and there in the podcast. So, and like I said, man, it's just cool to be a part of this industry. It's like a new growing industry where, we have this platform and we can do cool stuff like freaking be coffee connoisseurs and cigar connoisseurs and T-shirts and all this stuff, and people who support us. That's fucking cool, man.
That is cool. How do you get involved in it?
I contributed for one of Jack Coughlin's books. When I was contracting, he asked me to contribute for his last book, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? And when the story had came out, when that book was published, I did some PR with him downtown, and I want to say, Ian, my co-host, he was the one who he worked for Andrew Wilkow, and he heard me on the show, and he was like, hey, you want to do our show, Soft Rep? And that was a few years ago, and ever since then, it's been a wrap, man. It's been cool. And the Brandon Webb, he's the owner of the company, man, and he always keeps me busy, man. He's always looking for work for me, and make sure I don't struggle too much over here. So, yeah,
and
man,
you're the author of a book too,
cool.
Aren't you? Bounty Hunter.
Oh yeah, Bounty Hunter 4-3. Yeah, that
cool.
book just came out October 3rd. And it's been doing good, been climbing up on the charts. I mean, I'm on the first page in the Amazon now. Goddamn.
Hell yeah.
I'm right there with Rob. No, he's still number one, but I'm 20. I'm close.
Gnarly.
It was cool, man. It was real cool. And like I said, just being a part of the whole Soft Rep family is a really cool thing because you got no shit, cool, SOCOM or, Spec Cops or Marine, vets that, work for the program. And dude, these guys are just like us, man. It's like a family, We get to link up for certain events and shoot the shit and tell awesome stories. And each one of them have their own role in the company. So it's cool, man. Really.
That is very cool. That is very cool. Well, hey, Jason, I got to say thank you so much for being on Patriots Corner and, shooting the shit. It was a lot of fun. You're the man, dude.
No, dude. Thank you. You're the man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. This makes you happy. Do it. Who gives a shit?
I hear you. Well, Jason,
right,
thanks so much.
Guys, and thanks for listening.
All right, brother. Take care.